The engine of Raghav's motorcycle growled like a caged animal as he sped down the highway, the cold wind slashing across his face and the familiar rumble beneath him grounding his thoughts. He hadn't planned this trip, hadn't warned anyone, least of all his daughter, Mira. For weeks, something had been nagging at him, a strange silence in her voice during their calls, a hesitation she couldn't hide, and a feeling a father can sense even from miles away. Raghav had lived most of his life as a biker, a member of the notorious HellsAngels India chapter, a group feared and respected in equal measure. But beneath the leather jacket and tattoos beat the heart of a man who had raised his daughter alone and loved her harder than anything life had thrown at him. When he rolled into the small town where Mira studied, he expected to surprise her with lunch and maybe tease her about studying too much. What he did not expect was the uneasy atmosphere surrounding the school gates, with students whispering in corners and teachers pacing nervously. Raghav parked his motorcycle, feeling the tension wrap around him like smoke. The moment he entered the school office, the receptionist stiffened. "I'm looking for Mira Raghav," he said calmly, though his instincts were already sharpening. The woman exchanged a glance with another staff member before replying, "Sir, you should speak to the principal." That sentence alone tightened his gut. When he entered the principal's office, his worst fears began to take shape. Mira sat in a chair, her eyes red, her hands trembling slightly. Standing across from her were two older boys and a teacher trying too hard to appear neutral. "Papa," Mira whispered, relief flooding her expression. Raghav stepped beside her instantly. "What happened?" he asked, his voice quiet but carrying the weight of a brewing storm. One of the boys, arrogant and careless, scoffed. "Sir, it's just a misunderstanding. She's exaggerating." The principal cleared his throat. Mira filed a complaint. According to her, these boys have been bullying her for weeks, harassing her, cornering her after class, following her on the way to the hostel. Raghav felt his blood ignite. His daughter had been dealing with this alone. Mira grabbed his arm. "I told them to leave me alone. They..." Her voice broke. The boy cut her off. "She's making it dramatic. We were just having fun." Something in Raghav snapped. He leaned forward, his voice low enough to freeze the room. "Fun ends where my daughter begins." But before he could say more, the teacher interjected, "Sir, please calm down. We'll handle it internally." Raghav straightened slowly, studying their faces that clearly had no intention of doing anything. He wasn't going to leave this to a committee that didn't care about his daughter's safety. Without another word, he took out his phone. One message, one signal, that was all it took. Within an hour, the sound of dozens of engines thundered through the quiet town like an approaching storm. Students rushed to windows, teachers ran outside in panic, and the school grounds shook as more than 200 HellsAngels bikers rolled in, forming a wall of roaring steel at the entrance. Leather jackets gleamed, tattoos stood bold, and every man carried the same look, the look of brothers ready to stand for one of their own. The principal burst out of the building in horror. "This is a school. You cannot just..." Raghav walked forward, flanked by two of his closest brothers, Arjun and Faiz, men who had fought with him on roads far worse than this. "I warned you," Raghav said calmly. "You said you'd handle it. I don't think you can." Parents started arriving, alarmed by the sheer number of bikers crowding the school. Rumors spread wildly: gang war, kidnapping, revolt. But Raghav had no interest in violence. He wanted justice and respect. "Bring the boys and their parents," he said. Now, with 200 bikers staring them down, no one dared argue. Within minutes, the bullies and their families appeared, shaking, suddenly stripped of the arrogance they wore earlier. Raghav stood silently for a long moment before speaking. "My daughter came here to study, to grow, to be safe. Instead, she was hunted inside your school." One boy's father stepped forward angrily. "How dare you threaten us with your gang?" Arjun revved his engine, a thunderous roar that silenced every voice. Raghav didn't blink. "I'm not threatening you. I'm showing you the support my daughter has. Support she didn't have from this school." He turned toward the principal. "From today, you will ensure her safety. Cameras fixed, staff accountable, complaints acted upon." The principal nodded rapidly. Yes, absolutely." Then Raghav faced the boys, whose bravado had melted into fear. "You will apologize, and you will never go near her again." The boys stuttered apologies, their voices trembling. But Raghav wasn't finished. He looked at the crowd, parents, teachers, students, all watching a father who would move the world for his child. If any student in this school is harassed again, he said loudly, you call Mira. She will call us, and we will come. A wave of murmurs spread. Some in awe, some in fear. But one thing was certain. No one would ever dare harm Mira again. After everything calmed down, Mira hugged her father tightly, tears wetting his jacket. Papa, you didn't have to bring all of them. Raghav smiled softly, brushing her hair back. Beta, when you fight alone, you suffer alone. But when you stand with your people, the world learns to stay in its place. As he rode away later, with Mira sitting behind him, arms around him, the remaining bikers revved their engines in a synchronized farewell. The school had learned a lesson it would never forget. There is nothing more powerful than a father who refuses to let fear touch his child.